The following is a rebroadcast of a program that was originally presented live on December 11th, 1989.
Major funding for the following program was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television and the Des Moines Register. From the studios of Iowa Public Television, Student Voices, Student Choices. Here's your host, Tina Yothers.
Thank you, and welcome to Student Voices, Student Choices. Today's topic of the show is something I think every teen can understand and relate to. It's stress. Today, if you've seen the show before, I think today's show is going to be a little different. I'll show you. How many people in here are stressed out right now? Yeah? You can see a lot of hands up there. Well, I'll just start with a couple questions. What does stress mean to you?
Stress is just a overwhelming problem. It just completely blocks your mind.
Yeah. Well, how do people deal with stress? I mean, how do you deal with it when you're stressed out?
Get out of the house. Go somewhere where your friends are.
So most of your stress comes from your home, right?
Mainly.
We won't say any more. Okay, I think I'm going to start right now with introducing some people that I'm sure you guys would like to see. We'll spend some time with the specialists here in our studio and the panelists. Now, I'm going to introduce to you this group called T.A.P. Now, this stands for Theater Attitudinal Perspectives. This group is from Luther College in Decorah, and they're here to jumpstart our thinking about our stress in our lives. T.A.P.
My friends say they won't like it if I do, but if I don't, my dating days are through. My boss says I'll be fired if I'm not there, and my parents just really don't seem to care. The coach, he scowls and gives me dirty looks, and I'm gonna flunk if I don't hit the books now. Stress and pressure in my life. Stress and pressure, heat and strife.
I'm a feeling.
Stress and pressure all day through. Seems I'm wrong no matter what I do. Stress and pressure.
You invited Sherry? Well, you know nobody likes her. Well, we've been friends all my life. We were neighbors. We did everything together in grade school.
Well, a lot of us don't feel comfortable around her. I don't think I'm going to come to your party, but it's your birthday, I guess.
Stress and pressure in my life. Stress and pressure, heat and strife.
I'm a feeling.
Stress and pressure all day through. Everybody telling me what to do. Stress and pressure.
Hey, it's for sure. They're taking the pep band to the game. You're gonna play, aren't you?
I can't go. I've got to work.
But it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's the championship game. Besides, we really need you.
Well, I got off the last time, but I don't think I can afford to miss another night of work. Besides, my boss isn't a football fan.
I can't believe you're going to work. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I thought you'd support the team. Oh, well.
Stress and pressure in my life. Stress and pressure, heat and strife.
I'm a feeling.
Stress and pressure all day through. People mad no matter what I do. Stress and pressure.
Thank you. Now, on today's program, we'll discuss questions about stress with our studio audience and from 7 school phone centers from around the state. Here to help me answer these questions are the panel. Let's meet Earl Hipp, the author of Fighting Invisible Tigers, a Stress Management Guide for Teens from Minneapolis. Ginny Glicken, a school counselor worker, social worker with Area Education Agency 1 in Dubuque. Talmadge Tanks, a former professional athlete and currently recreation supervisor of the Des Moines Parks and Recreation Department. Talmadge. And Carol Sensor, a school psychologist with Area Education Agency 2 in Hampton. Thank you. Okay, now before I join our studio audience for their questions, I'd like to have you start, Carol, with give us a definition of stress.
Okay. Basically, stress is your body's response to any demand or pressure or change that's placed upon it. So stress is a physical reaction. It also is what happens in your head, how you interpret what is happening to you. Now, stress isn't all negative. The good things that happen to us in our lives are just as stress-provoking as the negative things that happen to us. Talmadge, maybe you'd like to explain some of the physical reactions to stress.
Yes, Carol. Well, exactly. You know, we know what the definition of stress is now, but we need to know how to recognize when you're stressful. Some of the signs and symptoms of when you're under stress has to do with headaches, sweaty palms, heart rate increasing, and knots in your stomach. And if you get any of these signs, then you're under stress, and you need to do something to relieve that stress.
Okay, we have an audience question now.
Is it more likely for students who aren't involved in athletics or extracurricular activities to have more stress than students who are inactive and sit around more?
Earl, would you?
Sure. Stress is relative. It's hard. The same thing that would make you stressful would be very easy for this person here in the front row, for example. So it's not so much who you do, but how well equipped you are in terms of having tools, skills, support for yourself, how you feel about yourself that determines how much stress you feel. It's different for each person. I don't think you can make a generalization like that.
Yeah, stress has its ways and its meanings to different people, I think. Okay, we have a phone call from Tipton High School. Hello, you're on, Tipton.
Hi. I would like to ask you, how do you deal with a friend that is being selfish and therefore putting stress on your friendship?
I think stress, when people are stressed, they come out and they chew off people. You know, they're always upset, and they're always like getting upset and really tense to work around and be friends with. Jimmy, would you care to answer that? How do people react? I mean,
well, I think in that situation, one of the major things that maybe might help with that person would be taking care of yourself, being assertive about what you still need to do for yourself while you're still trying to be a friend to your person who is your friend. But if you only take care of that other person's needs, you still need to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Okay, we have an audience question.
How are some different ways to deal with stress?
Talmadge, I know that being an athlete, that burns off a lot of stress. Would you like to answer that?
Yes, there's a lot of ways that you can deal with stress. The first thing you have to identify that you're under stress, and once you identify, you need to find some positive ways of releasing that stress. And some of the ways is finding a friend that you can talk to. You have guidance counselors. You try to talk to your parents. And as far as athletics, when you deal with stress, like a lot of boxers, they go in the gym and use a punching bag, which better trains them, also relieves stress.
Well, I know a lot of sports and activities like that, they release a lot of tension, and it gives you a natural high. I know I never get it. I always feel tired after I exercise. But a lot of people can't go a day without exercising, or they're grouchy. Okay.
Is stress good among teens, and why?
I don't think any kind of stress is good. I mean, would you care to answer this, Carol? I mean...
Well, stress isn't all bad. We have to have some stress. If there were no stress, you'd never study for a test, right? If you weren't concerned about the results of that. It happens, though, when stress reaches a peak and it becomes debilitating, and you can't handle it anymore, and it's overwhelming to you. Then stress becomes negative.
You know, at this point right now, I have some of what Talmadge was talking about. I'm a little nervous. My hands are a little sweaty. Mouth is a little dry. that's not negative, it's excitement. It's what I need to do need to have in order to do my best. So
well, every time I get ready to do something
Sure.
on TV, I always get like little knots in my stomach,
Sure.
even though I've been doing it for all my life. You know, there's always something, and that's not negative. You know, that always comes with when you're excited about something. Okay.
Why do people use mood-altering drugs? Why do people use mood-altering drugs?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's no simple answer.
To handle stress, I mean, a lot of people turn to that, but that's a cop-out, you know? I mean, that's any drug addict or anything to do with, you know, that type of thing. Ginny, I mean, people do that as a thing. They turn to that, but it's very self, you know.
And on the short term, they might feel like, oh, you know, if I have a drink tonight or I go out and drink with my friends, that may calm me down or help me. But in the long run, it doesn't. It just adds to the stresses.
Yeah, well, they go out of it for a while, but the problems are still there. They're not going to disappear when you have a couple drinks or smoke a few things, you know.
Tina, I think
Yes.
to be fair with drugs are one way to not feel anything in the short run, to go away from your feelings. And when stress accumulates in your life, you feel more and more fear. But there are lots of other ways, too, to go away from feeling your fear. You can sleep all the time. You can over-focus on food. You can, older people sometimes will be shopaholics or gamble. Those are all ways to stay preoccupied and not feel the scariness of being at the limits of your ability to cope with your world.
I think everybody has a time when they're stressed and they have somewhere to go or something to look at or something to believe in where it just calms them down and everything. And I think everyone who doesn't have something like that should find something that they can believe in. Okay, we have a phone call from Richardsville Holy Cross in Luxembourg School.
Hi, I have a question. So overall, is stress good or bad?
We just said that it's some good and some bad. You know, if it's causing damage with your work or your friends, then it's bad. But if it's an excitement kind of stress, I don't think it's that bad. Ginny?
Well, another positive that can come out of stress is that in a stressful situation or a crisis, if you learn how to problem solve in that situation, it can become a real positive for you and develop our coping skills for life. So it can have a positive.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, we have a question.
Okay, for the average teen, does stress lead into suicide and depression, and what other things can it lead into?
Would you care to take that, Carol?
Yeah, it can. When students feel overwhelmed with stress and pressure and they don't have a support system like Tina was talking about, they feel they don't have anywhere to go, sometimes suicide unfortunately becomes an alternative. And if you know of someone or have a friend or you have those feelings, it's real important to pull together their support system and maybe point out some alternatives they don't notice because they're so wrapped up in their problem.
I don't think that's the average.
No.
This young woman asked about the average. I don't think that's the average kid. I think that's, you know.
Well, there are a couple weak people out there that can't believe in something and can't depend on something to always be there. And they feel everyone's out to get them and everything's out to get them because everything goes wrong. But they don't take the time to think out what is good, what is positive in their lives. And I think if you spend more time worrying about the positive things, less things are stressed out, you know, towards you. Okay, we have an audience question.
I would like to say that's why a lot of kids are getting involved in games, because it gives them a sense of belonging and they have something to artificially relieve that stress momentarily for a short time.
Well, a lot of kids in gangs, they believe in something. They have something to go to.
Yeah.
Their gangs, their brothers in that gangs will always be there for them. You know, yeah, so, okay, we have an audience question.
Are there any serious medical problems that could go along with stress?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a therapist for about 4 years, and I would see, it's called the autonomic nervous system, but what that means is that ulcer is a stress-related physical disorder, migraine headaches, sweats. I would see people whose hands would drip water, they were so nervous. Muscle headaches or vascular headaches, muscle contraction headaches, cramps. Also, prolonged stress is like being afraid all the time, like a cat around a dog that's going to get it. You know, it's always got its fur up, and it's always scared, and that's tremendously depleting. So your immune system, the part of you that protects you from getting sick, breaks down after time, and you're more vulnerable to disease and illness. So long-term stress is a very debilitating thing physically.
Well, I know when you're upset, your stomach won't accept foods.
That's right.
Or they'll come, you know, they won't, you get very upset stomach when you're upset. So it just shatters your whole body. So it does have a lot to do with your health. Okay, we're taking a phone call from Sac Junior Senior High School. Hello, you're on.
Yes. Are there other ways to relieve stress, like through yourself? I mean, relaxation drills or something you can do?
If that's what you feel comfortable with, I think everyone has their own ways of showing. You know, they have those little toys at those stores, like stress toys, those punching bags and stuff. I don't know. Are there other, Talmadge?
Yes, there are a lot of ways that I found that there's ways to relieve stress. Is after a major project at work, you go home, you may want to kick off your shoes and just dream, and that relieves stress. So you go home and listen to some music, whatever your favorite music is. Just go put it on. If you like to listen to it loud or soft, just forget about it, go into another world and relax, and that relieves the stress.
It's very a thing that everyone has to come up with themselves, you know. Okay,
yeah, I think it's very important to know that a lot of how people cope with stress are just short-term ways to deal with feeling uncomfortable in the moment, and don't solve the kind of problems that cause stress. Like you said, this gentleman here had problems at home, or issues with a specific teacher, or problems in your relationship with a friend. You know, a hot bath might make you feel better for a little while, but it's not going to fix those problems. That takes skills and support and some help from other people sometimes.
And that goes back to what this young lady said about drinking, or the young man said about drinking and getting high or whatever. It takes your mind off for the time being, but it will always remain, you know, when you turn to that. Okay.
If you don't have any other tools but chemical use, then you have to do more and more and more of it, because your problems will get worse and worse and worse.
Right. Okay, I have a
How do you deal with stressed out people?
It's very hard. I've been around stressed out people. You just, you know, you can't, I don't think you can work around stressed out people. It's very difficult, but people are. Jenny?
Well, I think the real trick in that is stress can be almost contagious, and so learning how to keep yourself calm and be in charge of your own feelings as opposed to getting caught up in the other people's stress.
Yeah, when one person is stressed in a whole group, they set out vibes, and the vibes just continue and grow, and everyone's stressed. Okay.
How do you talk to your parents about stress and the stress that you have, if you have any?
I don't know. Jenny again?
Well, I think that's a very important question, because sometimes, unfortunately, parents will discount teenage stress, and sometimes I've worked with kids whose parents will say to them, oh, I wish I had it so easy, you know, the teenage years are great, and that's not necessarily the case at all. And so I think the real key is conveying to them that what your stress is feels that way to you, even though they may perceive it as a small problem, like grades, not getting an A on a test may not be that big to them, but is to you.
Well, I know that a lot of adults think stress is an adult problem. You know, they think that kids can't have stress. What stress can be built? That's there's nothing. But there are a lot of stress going to school. I'm sorry, Earl wanted to say.
I think it's all the more important that you have friends that you can trust, that you can talk to, be straight with, and if you can, find a safe adult somewhere. It's a shame, but it's not always the case that your parents are people you can talk to.
Yeah, we had a communication show, and a lot of young people had problems speaking with adults, because adults are out to get kids, and kids are out to get adults. But it's something you have to find for yourself. Okay.
How are the stresses different now than they were a couple years ago?
Carol, how has stress changed in the years? I know that a lot of problems around the world cause a lot of stress, and around the country. With the problems, you know, gangs, drugs have become more popular. A lot of things are just become not more popular, but a larger percent of people are doing them. So I'm sure it has increased. I don't know how big the problem's gotten. Carol?
Well, I think the stresses that kids have to deal with now, kids have to deal with a lot more change than probably I did as a teenager. The families are moving, the family is changing, the systems of families in our country, the divorce rate, you know, things are moving very quickly. And kids have to worry about the world problems, as you mentioned. So the stressors that kids have to deal with are a lot more.
Yeah, okay. We have a phone call from Muscatine High School. Hello, you're on.
Yes, this is Jackie, and my question is directed to Carol. And many adults seem to feel stress is an adult problem. Do teens suffer from stress-related problems as much or more than adults?
They're different things, right?
Yeah, they're different things, and I don't know if you can say they have more stress or they have less stress, but it's definite that teens do, and even kids in grade school suffer from stress. So it has to be recognized as this is a problem for teenagers.
My niece, who's 5 years old, was just stressed out the other day that her socks didn't match her dress. I mean, they go very young. Okay, we have an audience question.
Okay, are there different times of the year that cause more stress than others? Because people like around Christmas time get really stressed out.
I was just in the mall. I have to say something. I was just in the mall at home in L.A. People walk through the mall. There's not a smile. They just walk through. They're so mean, and this is the kind of year. It's 'tis the season to be jolly, you know. But there's so many problems in the world, and there's so many things to look at that are so bad that it just gets you really upset. Talmadge, would you?
Yeah, I think from an athletic point of view, during the season, summers was my best time because I could relax and get away from all the pressures of having demands put on me by the coaches, by your parents, and by your peers, by the girl that you have to impress. So I think that's a real important time for athletes is during the season when they find stress management.
But right now, I think around Christmas time,
yeah,
people, I think everybody's stressed out. Oh gosh, I have to buy this gift. I have to do this, you know, all this stuff. Okay, we have another audience question.
Yeah, is there a certain age where most stress occurs?
Ginny or Earl? Earl, would you like to?
Would you repeat the question?
Is there any particular age that stress is more serious or more?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and this is to tag on to the last question about who. The younger you are, the fewer the resources you have. For a little 5-year-old girl whose dress doesn't match her socks, that could be the end of the world. I mean, that could be a major life crisis and she may not know that she'll survive that. And I think that's true. As you get older, you learn more that you'll survive. Your ability to handle the change and transition increases. So I think that the younger you are, the more impact stress has on you.
The bigger the little problems are.
The worse it feels, the scarier it is, sure.
Yeah. Okay, we have another audience question.
How can a young teen help two stressed out parents?
It's very difficult to live in a house with stressed out parents, right? I don't know. Carol, would you like to answer that?
That's real difficult as a teen to act as the parent for your parents to talk to. But if you just sit down with them and explain, I understand you're under a lot of stress, you know, and talk about it, and maybe find somewhere you can go as a family for support to listen so that you aren't put under a lot of stress yourself by trying to deal with your parents' problems.
That's easier said than done.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
would like to add too, and it's very important that if you're in that situation and have no one to turn to, remember that there's people in your own school that could probably help you, guidance counselors, teachers. Turn to those people and ask for guidance too.
Okay, we have a phone call from Winfield Mount Union Junior Senior High School. Gosh, that's a long name. Hello, you're on.
Hi. My best friend tried to commit suicide recently, and now that she gets to come home, my boyfriend's leaving. And although he's leaving this summer, I'm already starting to miss him. And when he returns, we'll see each other for like 3 weeks, and then we go to separate colleges. And I'm kind of feeling a lot of stress right now, and I was just wondering how I might deal with it.
Ginny, would you care to answer that?
Well, I think the major thing would be to focus on things that are positive in your life. You know, it does sound like a lot of stress. Being a friend to your friend who has attempted the suicide, but realizing that you're only one piece, hopefully, in her support system, and that hopefully other people are going to help her, and focusing on the positives in your relationship, and that you still have a relationship with your boyfriend.
Yeah. Okay, Earl?
I think this caller is to be complimented because you're aware that you have that issue. That's the first step to good self-care. The danger often is when we have friends who are in a lot of pain or a lot of struggle, we tend to focus more on them and minimize our own, so that the the pain you've got around your boyfriend leaving, that's something that the two of you can work on, and then I hope you have a support system for yourself to talk to about this.
I'm sure when you're with your friend and giving support to your friend, you had no problems in your mind, you know. I'm sure that those problems became very, very small. Okay, we have an audience question.
There are lots of ways that are bad to relieve stress.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I would say. Talmadge, would you?
Well, repeat the question again.
Are there a lot? Are you asking? Are there a lot, or are there a lot of bad ways to release stress?
Yes, a lot of bad ways to release stress, and one from the honest response is that you turn to drugs, you turn to alcohol, you turn to gangs, and those are bad releases. And as time goes on, as Earl responded earlier, it builds up, and you build up a tolerance. The more negative that you pump in, the more negative that you're going to bring out. So you end up doing a lot of negative reinforcement.
I think also if you're, let's say that the way you deal with stress in your life is to go take a nap. Well, again, if that's the only tool you have, if no one has ever taught you positive ways to deal with stress in your life, you'll have to sleep more and more and more. So something innocent like taking a nap, well, pretty soon you're sleeping 14 hours a day and just can't get out of bed in the morning because that's your only coping strategy. So there's good things to do, like go for a walk, be physically active, but anything...
you'll end up walking all the way across the country.
Right, exactly, if that's all you have.
Yeah, okay. We have a phone call from Interstate 35 High School in Truro. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How would you deal with teachers and coaches when you have to miss a class or a practice again and again due to another commitment?
Talmadge?
What did you do when you missed
I'm sorry,
a
I
class?
didn't get the question either. I just handed it off to Talmadge because I didn't hear it.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't miss a class for athletics unless sometimes there may be a trip that you have to travel. And it's important, it's up to you and that coach to make sure you make up that class. But yes, there's a lot of stress involved in that, and when you have that stress factor, you need to go and talk to your coach and let him know that you are involved in this stress so he would know. Because a lot of times the coach is not necessarily is thinking about your stress factor. He has stress too, maybe thinking about the game or where we got to go. So you need to maybe bring it up to him, make him aware of it. And I think 99% of the coaches will understand your situation and help you with that problem.
Every coach's middle name is stress.
It's true.
At least they make it seem that way. We have an audience question.
Is there ever a time besides young childhood when a person is basically free from stress?
I think it's very your personality. If you are able to let those things go or let those things not bother you. The way I do it is I do a lot of work with young people in trouble and in group homes and everything who have real problems. And whenever I have a problem, I just go down and visit them and hear their stories. And my problems are nothing, you know. I mean, I don't know, some people have problems that are big, but it's just your way of dealing with it that can be dangerous. Okay, Earl wanted to say something.
If you didn't have stress, you'd be mashed potatoes, you know, you'd be a blob. So I think that the goal is not to have life without stress, but to actually invite stress into your life at a pace you can manage. Stress comes from growing, from changing, from learning new things, from meeting new people, from being in new places. That's all change, and that creates stress. But that's how you grow too. So the goal is not to be stressless, but to manage it and not have it be overwhelming, and to know internally when you've got too much, and then know what to do about it in those moments.
Once more, you know, we should add that stress isn't all bad.
Right.
You know, so to be stressless isn't right either. Okay.
Is it too extreme to take it out on other people?
It could be dangerous with a relationship or a friendship. Jenny, would you?
Well, I think that the major problem with doing it that way is they're probably not going to feel very good about you taking it out on them, and then in turn you're not going to feel good, which doesn't relieve your stress, so it becomes a vicious circle instead of a positive.
It's that group with one stressed person who it travels and travels, so the whole group is stressed. Okay.
What is the most stressful time for children and adults?
I don't know. Would you, Ginny?
Well, the high school in Iowa City did a survey of 230 students, and it wasn't necessarily related to time, but they found that 90% of the students said that school was a major stress in their life. Future was 77% of the students. Money was 68%, parents 44%, and friends were only 42%. So, interestingly, school is one of the very high stress factors.
Well, I think that school, there's a lot of things to go with that school title, you know, with friends. And I think everything adds up in school. Okay, we have an audience question.
Can you define the difference between eustress and distress?
Eustress, did you say?
Distress.
Distress. Distress for me would be when I'm up against more than I can handle. When I'm feeling more fear than I can function with, I have more anxiety and it makes my life a scary place to be, too much fear. As opposed to good stress, I think, is excitement. I feel some excitement now. I'm happy. I'm excited for you people that you get a program like this. So I'm excited, but that's also a kind of stress.
Okay, we have a phone call from Charles City High School. Hello, Charles City.
Hi.
Hi.
Is it possible to have a lot of the stress and not know it?
A lot of stress from not knowing? I think that... what?
A lot of the stress.
Oh, and not know it.
And
Oh,
to
definitely.
not know it.
Yeah, definitely. Earl?
Yeah, the scariest part about this thing we call stress is that we continually get used to having it in our life more and more and more and more and don't realize it. You know, you ever sit with a friend who's sitting there, legs are moving, they're chewing gum, and they're just going 100 miles an hour. They're wired, you know, we call them wired. And they may not realize how much stress they have in their lives, and they're just kind of adjusting what they call normal, up, 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 up. And that's when symptoms, physical symptoms, and problems in relationships begin to occur. But very definitely, most of us are not aware. As our stress levels come up, we're not aware of it.
And that's what's good about the phone call earlier, that the girl knew she was under stress.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't want to agree with people and say, yes, I am stressed. We have an audience question.
What signs do people under stress give off?
I think people are very tense and very jumpy and they snap at people, you know, in the bad sense. Carol?
Everybody, it's just like, how do you manage stress? Different people have different symptoms that they exhibit. And Talmadge mentioned some of the physical symptoms. With your good friends, you can tell when they're under a lot of stress. Earl mentioned the shaking the leg. My family knows when I'm under a lot of stress because I clean, you know, and people do...
They probably put you under that stress more often now, huh?
But people do different things when they're under a lot of stress.
Yeah. Okay, we have an audience question.
Yes. How can you avoid stress before it occurs?
Good question.
Earl?
In my book, I talk about two categories. One category I call Eye of the Hurricane. It's where you get into that quiet place, relaxation skills. That's one way, and there's a lot of different types of relaxation skills. And then the other way is to develop ability to handle the hard parts of your life, to have a support system, to know how to be assertive and how to talk directly to people, especially people that are giving you a hard time, how to plan for your future, how to manage your time. Those kinds of things are skills that are pretty hard to come by unless you're very lucky and in a very good school system. But you need those kinds of skills as well as just learning how to relax.
That's why I think stress, when it comes at an early age, it's harder to handle because once you're older, you've dealt with stress all your life, and you're able to handle it. You're able to do those things that you know. When you're young, you have to think of these things when you're young, when it first happens. So it is hard. Okay, we have a phone call from Tipton High School. Hello, Tipton.
Yes, I was wondering, is there a way to keep stress away from you?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, is there a way to keep stress away from you?
Is there a way to keep stress away from you? Stress. I don't think so. Anyone up there?
I don't think so, but I think sometimes we bring stress on ourselves by using things like I have to do this, or I can't do that, or if only. And so as we begin to look at those kinds of things and reduce our own self-induced stress, that can help.
Okay.
Where do you think most stress starts, at home or with your friends?
I think it's at different homes, different problems. Everyone's different. I don't think there's a number on that. Earl, would you?
Yeah, here's a funny thing to think about. There is no stress in the world. The stress isn't out here. The stress is in you. It happens in you. If Earl was at the circus and the lion tamer was absent and they invited me down in to be the guest lion tamer, I'd freak out. That'd scare me to death. But for the lion tamer, it's just another day at the office. So based on the different amount of experience you have in life, that determines how you feel about what you're experiencing in the world. So the stress is in you, and different things cause stress for different people.
Okay, we have an audience question.
Do you have any suggestions, like if you've tried everything and you still cannot get rid of your stress?
Do you have any suggestions if you've tried everything and you still can't get rid of it?
Yeah, what I would suggest is, when you've tried it, you think you've tried everything, you need to start writing things down. Write down the things that you like to do. And once you write down things you like to do, pick out those things that you like to do and experiment on them. Visualize. You need to start visualizing, and that releases a lot of stress.
I'd like to say, too, that at that point, depending on the situation, you might really want to seek help from your counselor, minister, trusted adult, teacher, someone like that. You probably need somebody outside to begin to help.
Let me ask you something. What do you do when you're stressed out?
Just sleep.
She's one of those all-night sleepers when stress becomes heavy. What are some of the things that you do when stress just gets you crazy?
I listen to music.
So, I mean, some of these things we've already heard before: listen to music, exercise, sleep. I sleep sometimes when I'm upset.
Tina, I think the most important thing you can do is talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Even when I was a professional therapist full-time, especially then, but even then, I needed to have people that I could talk to, because you can't see your own problems clearly, and if you've tried everything, you obviously aren't going to solve your own problem.
Right.
And a good both prevention as well as how to get fixed is to have people that you trust you can talk to.
Right. Okay. We have an audience question.
I've read that watching episodes of Candid Camera helps fight serious illnesses. Does that really work?
Candid Camera? Are you the producer? Are you promoting the show? I don't know. Maybe comedy shows or things that are funny can release a lot of. I know when you're happy, I know doing Family Ties for the past 7 years, I've received a lot of mail saying, just a lot of families with problems in the home. They said, gosh, just watching your show, saying that there is hope for families, that there are families out there that can live together and that can sit together at the dinner table. I don't know any, but to watch it is nice, and it does release a lot of tension, a lot of stress. Ginny, I'm sorry.
I think the key to Candid Camera is being able to laugh, and oftentimes in stressful situations we forget to look for the fun and laugh sometimes at ourselves, stepping back. Earl has a chapter in his book on developing your own funny bone. Is that the title? Right. We all need to learn how to laugh a lot more.
Okay, we have a phone call from Richardsville Holy Cross Luxembourg School. Hello, you're on the air.
Okay, what do you do if your stress is based on people making great expectations of you?
Gosh, I know that happens a lot when you have to prove everybody what you can do, and you're stressed out to do that, to get to that point. I don't think there's anything wrong with high hopes and working hard for something, but it can become very stressful. Carol?
And when you're feeling a lot of pressure, whether it's to achieve academically or athletically, and those are expectations you don't feel you can handle, I think at that point, again, it's very important to have an open line of communication and sit down and talk with the people, let them know how you feel and what kind of pressures you're under and the stress that you're feeling, so that maybe you can work out kind of a compromise. This is what I'm expecting from my life, this is what you're expecting, and I don't feel that I can live up to that, and be very honest.
My boyfriend is just going through that. He's going to med school right now. He's an actor. He has to go on auditions. And the other day, he just broke down and he said, gosh, I can't do all this. What am I supposed to do? And he started talking about it and got it out. And I told him, you can't prove everything to anybody, You're not the only one that has to do things. People have to realize there are other people out there, too. Okay, Earl.
Yeah, and just a little add-on to that, to know that even at this age, or especially at this age, it's okay for you to have control over what your performance is about. I mean, you can set for you what you consider to be acceptable standards and argue for those or negotiate those with parents or teachers. I mean, we all can't get A's, and maybe getting A's isn't the most important thing in life anyway. And so not to take artificial standards too seriously, to know that some things in life are negotiable.
Well, we were just talking about this earlier. People, you know, when they're in high school, oh, I want to become a doctor because I hear they're rich, they drive Mercedes, and they play golf. That's all they do. They go to school all their lives. They don't think of the responsibility. Talmadge?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. Just when those high demands are put upon you, and when you go out and do the best you can do, is you look at that accomplishment of what you've accomplished, and you sit back and you enjoy what you have accomplished. Not what those demands that you ever met, but what you have accomplished. Yeah. And that is a great reliever.
Set your own goals. Don't
yes.
set too high. Just go what you think is your speed. You know yourself. I mean, I think everyone knows how much they can do. We have an audience question.
Okay, I read an article about laughing and crying and how that's a good way to relieve stress. In your opinion, is that a good way?
Mm-hmm.
I think when people are upset, they should cry. They shouldn't hold it back. And when they're happy, they should laugh. Talmadge?
Yes, I'd like to address that because coming up, this macho image and being a tough guy, being an athlete, we were thought that you're not supposed to cry, which is the biggest myth in the world because not being able to cry, you got so much stress up inside. Until I learned to cry and relieve that stress, I was a miserable person. I didn't perform well. But once you release that, you find there's a totally different world out there, and people do respect you for your true feelings, not someone else's.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have a phone question from Sac Junior Senior High School. Hello, you're on Sac.
Hi, this is Matt. Are there any programs that the school can implement to help the total student deal with stress?
I think any activities. Carol, would you?
Some of the schools that I work in have social skills training programs. And we focus those generally on children in elementary school to teach them assertiveness training, to teach them how to deal with conflict in a positive way, and hopefully give them some of the problem-solving skills that stress requires for kids to have. And Earl's book has a program for schools in it too, doesn't it?
We took the material from the Fighting Invisible Tigers book and put it into a curriculum for teachers, a 12-module curriculum. Again, if you don't have skills, the kinds Carol just mentioned, all you can do is cope, which are behaviors that let you not feel bad for a little while. So skills are very important, and the earlier you can learn them, the better.
I would like to add to that, in the Moore school system, some of our elementary schools, they have a smoother selling program, which some of you may be familiar with, that has counselors on duty and counseling programs that can help you with these type of problems.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to talk to counselors because there's nothing wrong with me, you know. Yeah. They don't feel that stress is a real problem. We have an audience question.
They say that stress is such a big topic. Are there different levels of stress?
Serious and not serious. Earl?
Again, that's an individual issue. I hope you're hearing this over and over again. We're saying it's got to do with the person and how well they're equipped to deal with it. If you don't have tools, if you don't have skills, you're going to feel it more. So it's totally a personal issue.
It can become dangerous, and it can be kill. Yeah,
stress can kill you.
Yeah. Okay, we have an audience question.
How does stress affect the high school athletes?
How does stress affect the high school athletes? Talmadge.
Well, first of all, stress in high school athletics is growing because of the pressure that college coaches and recruiters are putting on the athletes to perform not only in the classroom, but perform on the athletic field, which in turn causes the athlete to put more emphasis on his athletic ability and not schoolwork. And then when this athlete goes home, his parents is putting pressure on him to get to schoolwork and less athletic. So he's getting it from both sides. So there is a tremendous lot of pressure on athletes today in high school.
And if you don't have your academic level high, then you can't be on the football team. It's just a lot of stress.
Especially with the new proposition that the NCAA has come out with, you know. That's more pressure for him to do both things now. So
it's the same in every occupation, I think. As a kid, I have to go. When I was working at Family Ties, I had to keep B+, A average to keep a work permit. So that's working 9 hours a day plus keeping an A average in school with a tutor. And you just have to keep these things up. Okay, I have a phone call from Muscatine High School. Hello, Muscatine, you're on.
Hi, this is Holly. The panel mentioned something about time management. Could you tell us some specific time management skills that would help students?
Okay, who answered that? Ginny, did you say?
No, but I think it sounds almost trite to say, but actually making lists, like first thing in the morning of everything you need to do for the day, and then prioritizing that list and knowing what you really need to do and what are the frivolous ones. And then at the end of the day, marking off those that you've gotten done and feeling good about it and patting yourself on the back. Probably won't get the whole list done, but at least you've made a start and you've gotten the important things done.
And once again, don't make your goals too high. Don't fill that list, you know?
Yeah, and I think also it's important is when you're setting that timetable that you finish that task before you create a lot more, because you're just building on and on and on. So finish your task before you start a dozen more.
Right. Okay, we have another audience question.
How would you deal with stress in the family between brothers and sisters?
Ginny, would you care to?
Well, I think that one comes down more to communication and trying to negotiate some maybe household rules among the family. Fighting is often one of the big ones, and maybe almost calling a family truce. And depending on the
that's what
level,
brothers and sisters were for.
depending on the family, you still might even need outside help depending on the level.
It's very hard for a person this age to be able to say, I want to call a family meeting and say, listen, we need some rules here. So again, if you're at this age and struggling with different kinds of problems in your family, you might need someone outside of the family to be your support person for objectivity and ideas, suggestions.
Okay, audience question.
How would you deal with like friends who have stress?
Friends?
Friends who have stress.
Mm-hmm. Well, be as good a friend as you know how without risking your own sanity. Being there for them, reminding them about what's right about them, and letting them know that you care about them, that you'd be there for them. Know that at some times they need a little more support than at other times. But the important part there is that you don't get too carried away being there for them that you forget to take care of yourself.
Okay, I have a phone call from Winfield Mount Union Junior Senior High School. Hello, you're on.
Hi, if you could remove one single stress that teenagers face, what one would that be?
Let me ask some people in the audience. What would be your main stress? What would cause most stress on you?
School.
How about you?
Sports. Family.
Girlfriend.
See, everyone's different. They all have their own, and they think that stress is the most stress you could possibly have. Everyone has a different stress. I don't think you can narrow it down to one type of stress. Maybe someone up there can answer.
I agree. Again, stress is an individual issue. There is no, the survey that Ginny read to us said school, but school is such a number of different things, you know, grades and people
some
and teachers.
Some at school, some at sports, some at... Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything. It has a lot to do with everything. Okay, another audience question.
If you're stressed out, who do you recommend to go to for help?
Anyone that you feel comfortable with, I'd say. Right?
Well, there are helplines. There's phone numbers that you can call in this community. There are people in the school system that you can go talk to if you can find the courage in yourself. I came from a family, my dad was alcoholic. I got beat up on a regular basis, got yelled at all the time, and I just lived with that insanity. I did not know enough then to ask out. It wasn't until I was later on in high school that I was able to get help for myself. So there are, and I know now, that there are people there who can hear you and will be there for you and support you when you're at your limits.
Yeah, with people in that situation, they think, well, I don't have the problem. It's my dad's problem or my mom's problem, so I won't have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it does build up on you, you know.
Sure.
Okay, an audience question.
Hi. Like, my friends and I, we always fight, and it's like, they stress me out because each of us pull each other so thinly. And is there certain ways we can, like, work things out more or less? Because we always fight. We go for days without talking, and then gradually we'll become friends. And then when we fight, other people will say, well, like, you're not going to become friends with her again, are you? And it's like, you're stressed out and you don't know what to do. Is there certain ways you can handle it?
Well, I think you have to realize who your true friends are. If you're always fighting, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that stress is causing you just to go overboard, and you might not want to hang out with those people anymore. Find new friends, you know. I mean, I'm not saying leave those friends, but you might want to try that. Talmadge?
Yes, I would like to say, first of all, find out what brought you two together, why you became friends, and build on what brought you together. Now, you know, another thing is when you find out what brought you together and look back on what's tearing you apart, a lot of things build on friendship. But what actually brought you together, become friends, find out what that is, and try to build on that.
Build on that, yeah. Build on the positive stuff, Earl.
I also want to say that good friends can have differences, can fight. But it means that when you fight, you don't necessarily have to go away from each other. It doesn't mean the friendship's no good. You still care about each other, you just have differences. So friends can argue. But it's
healthy.
It's healthy, sure, but it doesn't, if it means that every time we have a fight I might go away, that's not a good friend.
Okay, we have another phone call from Charles City High School. Thank you. Hello, you're on Charles City.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is this. My parents are divorced after 20 years of marriage, and it seems like they're always in a power struggle, and I'm caught in the middle, and this causes a lot of stress and tension for me. And what I want to know is what I could do for myself to handle this better.
Carol?
I think it might be important to talk with your high school guidance counselor or to talk with the school psychologist or school social worker in your school and have somebody who's a sounding board, somebody who can see things maybe from the outside and give you some ideas, and maybe sit down with your parents and talk about some of your concerns and help you express those concerns to them.
Okay. We have a phone question. Are you on the phone? An audience question.
Okay, if friends come to you that are under a lot of stress, or people in your family come to you that are under a lot of stress, what are some tools that you could use to help them relieve some of that stress?
Be there for them, I'd say. Earl?
Have big ears.
Yeah.
Giant ears. Get big ears like this. You don't, when a person's in trouble, you don't need to fix them so much as they need to know somebody's there and understands. The Tigers book, we talk about invisible tigers because people feel like there's something dangerous chasing them that they can't name really. And that's why we say invisible tigers. But what it is that when a person can talk just to somebody with giant ears, they will discover themselves and more about what's troubling them. Big ears, I think, is the best thing you can have for, best way to be there for somebody that's in trouble. Be a good listener and an affirming friend. Tell them what's wonderful about them.
Okay, we have time for one more audience question. I'm sorry, we don't have time. Okay.
Tina, is it stressful being a star?
It can be. I think every job and everything has stress in it. Just a small example. A small example of stress on me are the newspapers, the articles that they can write on you. I mean, them following you 24 hours and watching your house and sitting outside, watching you. It's very stressful. Walking down the street and knowing that someone's following you with a camera can be very stressful. Talmadge, do you...
Yes, and being a professional athlete, you're always in the limelight. Someone's always wanting to get that newspaper article. They all want to sell newspapers. They want that big publicity, and consequently, you are the subject, and there's no way you can escape that. You just have to get the tools to learn to deal with it.
Well, yeah, I went to New York with a friend of mine who was my best friend, who happened to be a guy who was 10 years older than me, but it turned out to be a love rendezvous, So they say, and we're just best friends. So you can't have friends, and they're always on your case. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, what are they going to write? I can't have this kind of publicity, da-da-da-da. It's very stressful. And then finally, we just took them we walked down 42nd Street, which is the worst street in New York. They called me and said, do you know where you were walking? Just tease them, play along with them, Okay, well, I'm sorry, but we have run out of time. I would like to thank our panel, Earl, Ginny, Talmadge, and Carol. Thank you guys for sharing your experiences with us. I think they deserve a hand. And now I'd once again like to introduce T.A.P. to show you another thing.
Today I'm taking charge of my life. I'm learning the skills that I need. I'm hunting down that old tiger called stress. There'll be no doubt that I will succeed. Tomorrow I am starting the hunt. Better yet, I'll start it today. Oh, to learn the skills that will help me to live a more productive, less stressful way. I'm going tiger hunting, tiger hunting. Oh, tiger, I'm looking for you. I'm going tiger hunting. Look out, cat. Your invisible days are through.
You know, I think I'll cut that class today. I don't know why, but it just gives me the creeps.
Mrs. Jones, can I talk to you for a second? I need to figure out why I'm so uncomfortable in your class.
I don't even want to know about that play. I've got to work, I'll have no money.
I could take a small part. There's got to be a way to work it out.
I'm going tiger hunting, tiger hunting. Oh, tiger, I'm looking for you. I'm going tiger hunting. Look out, cat. Your invisible days are through.
Oh, she turned the channel again? I guess I'll go get something to eat. It's not worth the hassle.
Please leave the channel where it is. We watched what you wanted last time.
Running has got to be the stupidest thing to do. All that work, for what?
I've started walking every day. I can tell the difference in the way I feel already.
I'm going tiger hunting, tiger hunting. Oh, tiger, I'm looking for you. I'm going tiger hunting. Look out, cat. Your invisible days are through. Tiger, I'm putting the stress on you. Your invisible days are through.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks to you guys in the audience, both here in our studios and on the phone centers. Your input and your willingness to share your experiences are what make this show special. Remember, it's up to you to take care and handle the stress in your lives. If you've heard something today that can help you, great. Use it, definitely. Remember, you are an individual, and it's important to keep, your self-image and yourself up, well, actually, as Lily Tomlin once said, the trouble with the rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat. So you just remember to keep yourself together, and you're an important individual, and be the individual that you want to be. See you next time on Student Voices, Student Choices. Thank you. If you should need help with a problem that seems too difficult to handle, call Teen Line, toll-free for information and referral. That's 1-800-443-8336. 1-800-443-TEEN. You're not alone.
Major funding for Student Voices, Student Choices was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television and the Des Moines Register.
The preceding program was originally broadcast live on December 11, 1989.